Lindsay Clancy Day 8 recap. The day started out very emotional, and then we heard from many witnesses who knew Lindsay Clancy personally. The first witness today was Dr. Kimberly Springer, who was the medical examiner that performed Callan Clancy's autopsy. She determined that his injuries were consistent with ligature strangulation and that his cause of death was complications from mechanical asphyxia. Photos from that autopsy were shown during Dr. Springer's testimony. Lindsay Clancy was visibly and audibly sobbing, and court had to take an extended break. The next witness was Dr. Lindsay Rothschild, who was the Clancy children's pediatrician since 2019. She had seen all three of the children, Cora, Dawson, and Callan, for their checkups, illnesses, and routine appointments. She described Cora, Dawson, and Callan as healthy children without any developmental concerns. She said that Dawson had a peanut allergy and Cora had asthma, but it was well controlled. She testified that Lindsay, as a mother, was attentive and receptive to medical recommendations, and she appropriately remained concerned about her children throughout the years. During Cora's physical on January 24th, 2023, which is the date that these children were murdered, Lindsay provided the necessary history. She answered questions appropriately, and she did not display any behavior that this pediatrician deemed as unusual or concerning. On cross-examination, she did agree that Lindsay was a doting and concerned mother who was always looking out for possible issues involving her children. The pediatrician was not aware of the extent of Lindsay's mental health treatment, her medications, her insomnia, or her hospitalizations. We then heard from several witnesses who worked at Learning Sprouts, which was the pre-K or daycare that Cora and Dawson both attended. Susan Fraioni described Cora and Dawson as happy, healthy, and engaged. She remembered some more difficult drop-offs for Dawson during the fall of 2022, but she did not recall Lindsay displaying any concerning behavior or discussing depression or insomnia. Susan Bertolo then described Cora as amazing, wonderful, and ready to attend kindergarten. On January 23, 2023, Cora used the restroom more frequently than usual, but she did not really complain. She just asked to use the restroom several times. Cora had previously mentioned that Lindsay had been at the hospital and said that she missed her mother, and that happened around December 2022 or January 2023. Stephanie Williams testified that Cora was sweet, she loved her brother, she loved drawing princesses and babies. On January 23rd, Cora said that her stomach hurt and she didn't want to get off her cot. She just kind of wanted to rest. So when Lindsay arrived to pick her up, Lindsay came inside, said, "Oh baby, let's go get Dawson and then we'll go home." Williams did not notice anything unusual about Lindsay and described her as a loving mother who cared about her children. All three of these daycare employees were mandated reporters, but they never felt that there was any concern or anything that they needed to report. The next witness was Andrea Hennigan, who was a registered nurse and a longtime friend of Lindsay Clancy's. She testified that Lindsay began discussing insomnia, brain fog, and not feeling like herself in the fall of 2022. Hennigan and two other nurses encouraged her to seek professional help, and Hennigan even helped to connect her with information and resources. She said Lindsay appeared to understand what was happening, she spoke normally, and she remained hopeful that she would find the treatment that would work for her. In January 2023, Lindsay told her that she was working with psychiatric providers to find medication that would both allow her to sleep at night and also to still function during the day. She also told Hennigan about significant medication side effects that she was dealing with. Hennigan never recalled Lindsay expressing that she wanted to harm herself or her children. She did not report hearing voices, seeing things, or responding to things that were not there. Hennigan described Lindsay as deeply caring, nurturing, and someone who loved being a nurse and a mother. The next witness was Bethany DeCalabas. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist who became friends with Lindsay because their children did some of the same activities. She said that they regularly have play dates, and she described Lindsay as active, engaged, and friendly. After Callan was born, Lindsay began discussing persistent trouble sleeping. DeCalabas said that these sleep issues initially seemed normal for a mother with a new baby, but they did become concerning because they lasted over a period of time. Lindsay told her that she was seeking help, she was taking medication, and she was seeing a therapist. DeCalabas did not observe problems with Lindsay completing daily tasks or interacting with her children. During one of their final conversations, Lindsay said that she felt like a zombie because she still was not sleeping. DeCalabas said that Lindsay seemed tired, but she did not literally look like a zombie. She had to answer that because the Commonwealth asked if she looked like a zombie or if she said she felt like one. She described Lindsay as warm, kind, and a consistent mother. The next witness was Amy Bevan. She had known Lindsay Clancy for 29 years. They met in elementary school. They were friends through middle school, high school. They would visit each other in college. They seemed to have been very close. Bevans testified that Lindsay had always been calm and kind. She did not notice any changes in Lindsay's speech or behavior after the births of her 3 children. Just a few days before January 24th, 2023, Lindsay texted Bevans and said that she had been taking a medication that was causing her dark thoughts. She said that she was going to be tapering off of it and changing to a new medication. Bevans said that Lindsay did not provide any details about what those dark thoughts were, but her tone seemed very hopeful that a new medication would help her with this. She did not express plans to harm herself or her children, and she did not mention hearing voices. Bevans later visited Lindsay at Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital in March 2023, so this is after the crime had already occurred. They discussed Bevan's daughter, Lindsay's hobbies at Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital, and they also discussed any updates with mutual friends that they had. They did not discuss the children or the criminal case, but that is because Lindsay's sister had warned Bevans beforehand not to bring that up, and the visit only lasted about 15 minutes or so. The next witness was Christopher Clancy, who was Patrick Clancy's father. He testified that Lindsay was very mothering and protective of each of her children. He saw the family several times during the holidays and generally described Lindsay as appearing happy, quiet, or in good spirits. At one gathering, he recalled Lindsay appearing nervous, blank, or staring off at times, but she was also interacting with everyone around her at that visit. He testified that Patrick was extremely concerned about his wife, so both Patrick's parents and Lindsay's parents all pulled together to try to help them out at that time. He said that he had never seen Lindsay behave abusively towards the children whatsoever. The next witness was Kyle Carney, who was a family friend. He was originally friends with Patrick, but also got to know Lindsay pretty well over the years. He described Lindsay as kind and caring. He saw the family approximately once a month during the fall of 2022 and into January 2023. He had a small gathering at his house on January 22nd, 2023. He said during that gathering, Lindsay appeared quieter than normal, but she still participated in conversations, and she, Patrick, Cora, and Dawson stayed at that gathering for several hours. Callan at the time was home with Lindsay's parents. He did not observe anything else that he considered out of the ordinary besides her being a little bit more quiet that day. Final witness today was State Police Detective Andrew Chiacchio. He testified about obtaining surveillance footage from CVS and 3V, interviewing potential witnesses, and executing search warrants. He testified about one search warrant that was put in on June 12, 2023, where they realized from photographs they had not swabbed some blood that was on the outside of the home, so they got a search warrant approved to do so. He also testified about a search warrant that he put in for metadata from Facebook, and this is one post that they found from Lindsay Clancy. This was posted on May 5th, 2021. You can pause to read it. That is the summary for day 8. Let me know your thoughts on today's testimony. Court will resume tomorrow at 9 a.m., and I'll be back with another recap after that. Until then, and most importantly, rest in peace to the 3 children at the center of this case, Cora, Callan, and Dawson.